In a world constantly shouting, "Be positive," "Chase happiness," and "Never give up," it's all too easy to feel perpetually exhausted, profoundly inadequate, or even downright cynical. We're conditioned to believe that life should be a constant ascent of joy and success, free from discomfort or setback. But what if everything you thought you knew about living a truly good, fulfilling life was, in fact, a little bit backwards? What if the relentless pursuit of more, of better, of perfect, was actually making you less happy, more anxious, and less connected to your authentic self? This is the paradox at the heart of our modern malaise, a cultural feedback loop that often leaves us feeling worse, not better, about our own imperfections. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most refreshingly honest, provocatively insightful, and utterly essential self-help books of our time, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a**ck by the brilliantly contrarian Mark Manson. Forget the saccharine platitudes and unrealistic promises of conventional self-help. Manson doesn't offer a sugar-coated path to an imaginary utopia. Instead, he provides a raw, unapologetic, and incredibly empowering counterintuitive perspective on what genuinely makes life meaningful and how to build profound, unshakable resilience. He's here to tell you that the secret to a good life isn't about avoiding negativity or always smiling, but about learning what not to care about, so you can fiercely protect your energy for what truly counts. In just about 20 minutes, we'll strip away the fluff, dismantle worn-out beliefs, and dissect Manson's core principles. This isn't just a summary. It's an immersive exploration into how to reframe your relationship with problems, redefine happiness, clarify your true values, and ultimately, embark on a path toward a more authentic and impactful existence. Get ready to challenge your deepest assumptions, embrace uncomfortable realities, and master the subtle, liberating art of caring less about what doesn't truly matter, so you can pour your heart and soul into what genuinely does. Let's jump in. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a**ck. Detailed 9-chapter summary. Chapter 1. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a**ck. This foundational chapter immediately shatters the conventional illusion that a good life is one free of problems, pain, or discomfort, or that happiness is achieved by constantly striving for positive feelings. Manson introduces his central paradoxical concept. Not giving a**ck is emphatically not about apathy, indifference, or a complete lack of care towards anything. On the contrary, it's about cultivating a radical form of selective prioritization, a rigorous discipline in deciding what genuinely matters to you and then being completely comfortable with the inevitable struggles, discomfort, and potential criticism that accompany the pursuit of those deeply held values. He argues that our emotional bandwidth, our attention, and our capacity for genuine care, our FCKS, are finite and incredibly precious resources. This is not a limitless wellspring. Every FCK given to one thing means one less FCK available for another. Wasting these limited emotional investments on trivialities, on the incessant pursuit of external validation, on superficial desires, or on things entirely outside our sphere of influence and control leads to perpetual dissatisfaction, chronic anxiety, and ultimately, a life lived on someone else's terms, dictated by external expectations or societal pressures. Instead, the subtle art lies in a form of ruthless self-awareness and deliberate prioritization, identifying precisely what aligns with your deepest purpose, your non-negotiable values, and then willingly accepting the inevitable problems and challenges that accompany that authentic commitment. This requires developing the profound courage to stand out, to defy societal norms, to face adversity head-on, and to endure potential unpopularity or discomfort for the sake of the few, genuinely significant things you hold dear. By consciously directing your emotional energy to these core elements and intentionally releasing your grip on the myriad of insignificant concerns, you liberate immense mental and emotional bandwidth, allowing you to live a far more focused, authentic, and impactful life. It's about choosing your battles wisely, because you can't win them all, nor should you try. Chapter 2. Happiness is a problem. Manson provocatively asserts that happiness is a problem, a statement deliberately crafted to dismantle the widespread cultural myth that happiness is a static, constant, and universally attainable state free of any struggle or pain. He clarifies that true, sustainable happiness is not the absence of problems, but rather the ongoing process of identifying, desiring, and effectively solving them. Life, in its very essence, is an unending series of challenges, ranging from the mundane logistical issues of daily life to complex emotional and existential dilemmas. The fundamental truth, often overlooked, is that solving one problem invariably leads to the emergence of another, perhaps more complex or simply different one. The human mind, far from seeking a problem-free stasis, is intrinsically wired to constantly seek out and even create new problems as a fundamental mechanism for growth, learning, and engagement. This counterintuitive perspective profoundly liberates us from the futile and exhausting pursuit of an idealized, flawless existence. It encourages us to embrace this perpetual cycle of problem-solving as the very fabric of life, recognizing that our well-being and sense of fulfillment are inextricably tied not to the absence of struggle, but to the quality of our problems and our proactive approach to navigating them. A genuinely good life, Manson suggests, is not characterized by the lack of suffering or challenges, but by having better problems, those that align with our values, constructively challenge us to grow, and consistently propel us towards greater meaning and purpose. It's about finding deep satisfaction and intrinsic reward in the process of striving and overcoming, rather than waiting for a mythical, problem-free destination that will never arrive. Our emotions, both positive and negative, serve as crucial feedback mechanisms, guiding us towards these more meaningful struggles. Chapter 3. You are not special. This chapter directly confronts what Manson identifies as a pervasive and deeply detrimental entitlement epidemic within modern society. He argues that the widespread belief in one's own inherent exceptionalism, an automatic right to constant happiness, effortless success, and universal validation, is profoundly unhealthy and unrealistic. This inflated sense of self-importance is often fueled by well-intentioned but misguided parenting, everyone's a winner, the curated perfection showcased incessantly on social media, and a consumer culture that promises instant gratification. When life inevitably presents challenges, mediocrity, or humbling setbacks, this deeply ingrained sense of entitlement leads to chronic dissatisfaction, crippling insecurity, and often, a debilitating victim mentality where external circumstances or perceived injustices are blamed for personal struggles, absolving the individual of responsibility. Manson contends that authentic self-esteem is not constructed from superficial affirmations, fleeting external validation, or endless comparisons to others' highlight reels. Instead, it is forged through the hard-won results of diligent effort, a courageous and realistic self-assessment of one's actual strengths and weaknesses, and the unwavering willingness to take personal responsibility for one's choices and actions. Embracing one's ordinariness, acknowledging that you are, in many fundamental ways, just another human being with your own unique flaws and strengths, living a life that is often mundane, paradoxically allows for far greater freedom, genuine connection, and the authentic pursuit of meaningful achievements without the crushing, unsustainable pressure of manufactured exceptionalism. It's about finding dignity and purpose in the common human struggle, recognizing that true value comes from engaging honestly with reality, not from believing you are inherently superior or destined for effortless greatness. Chapter 4. The Value of Suffering. Building powerfully on the premise that life is problem-filled and that genuine growth is inextricably tied to overcoming adversity, this chapter delves into the often avoided and highly uncomfortable topic of suffering. Manson asserts that pain, both emotional and physical, is not merely an unfortunate side effect of existence to be mitigated or avoided at all costs, but rather an essential, inescapable, and profoundly valuable component of human growth, learning, and self-discovery. He critically examines the widespread societal tendency to numb, distract, or constantly shy away from discomfort, arguing that such avoidance leads to a superficial, unexamined existence and ultimately prevents deeper psychological and emotional development. The feedback loop from hell, as he terms it, is precisely this. Feeling bad about feeling bad, anxious about being anxious, making oneself miserable about being miserable. The very muscles of resilience, empathy, wisdom, and moral character are forged only through the direct, unflinching confrontation of fear, loss, disappointment, and the rigorous discipline required for genuine progress. The F***CKs we choose to give for genuinely valuable experiences. Whether it's building a successful business, nurturing a complex relationship, mastering a difficult skill, or raising a child, inevitably involve discomfort, effort, and sometimes profound emotional or physical pain. By consciously learning to accept and even embrace these necessary pains, rather than desperately trying to escape or suppress them, we gain a deeper appreciation for joy when it arrives, cultivate greater inner strength, and extract invaluable lessons that only direct experience with adversity can truly teach. Suffering, therefore, becomes not a barrier to a good life, but a direct, often uncomfortable pathway to it. It's about choosing your suffering, choosing the pain that comes with worthwhile values. Chapter 5. You are always choosing. This is a pivotal and incredibly empowering chapter that introduces the concept of radical personal responsibility. Manson asserts that regardless of external circumstances, regardless of what happens to you, we are always, unequivocally, responsible for our reactions, our interpretations, our choices, and our responses to the problems we face. He makes a crucial distinction between fault and responsibility. Something might not be your fault, e.g., you lose your job due to a global economic downturn or you are born into poverty, but your response to that event, how you choose to interpret it, how you cope emotionally, and what proactive actions you decide to take next, is always 100% your responsibility. The past is what it is, but the present and future are shaped by your choices. This might initially feel like a harsh or even unfair truth, particularly to those who have faced genuine hardship. However, Manson argues it is fundamentally liberating. Blaming others, external factors, or past traumas for our current state of being only serves to disempower us, trapping us in a victim mentality where control over our lives is effectively ceded to outside forces. This creates a sense of helplessness and stagnation. Taking radical responsibility means embracing our problems, not necessarily because we created them, but because we are the only ones who possess the power to change our relationship with them, to learn from them, and to initiate meaningful steps forward. This profound shift from external blame to internal agency and accountability is fundamental to rebuilding oneself, fostering genuine self-efficacy, and living a truly meaningful, self-directed life. It's about understanding that even in the most dire or unjust circumstances, you retain the ultimate power of choice over your attitude, your values, and your actions, transforming potential despair into a catalyst for change. Chapter 6. You're wrong about everything, but so am I. This chapter profoundly challenges our deeply ingrained human tendency towards certainty and exposes the inherent dangers of clinging rigidly to our beliefs or dogmatic knowledge. Manson argues that certainty is often the enemy of true growth and deeper understanding. When we become absolutely convinced of our knowledge, our perspectives, or our perceived truths, we cease to question, we stop actively learning, and we inevitably become intellectually inflexible and resistant to new, potentially contradictory information. This intellectual stagnation not only prevents personal evolution but can also lead to arrogance, closed-mindedness, and the formation of dangerous echo chambers, especially in our hyperconnected world. Manson advocates for cultivating a profound sense of intellectual humility and a radical willingness to be wrong. He emphasizes that true growth, wisdom, and genuine progress in any field, whether scientific, personal, or societal, come not from possessing perfect, immutable answers, but from a continuous, iterative process of questioning, experimenting, and rigorously re-evaluating our assumptions and beliefs. The Manson's law of avoidance suggests that the more something threatens our identity or how we view ourselves, the more we will avoid confronting it. Being open to the possibility that our current understanding is flawed allows us to integrate new information, adapt to changing realities, and continuously refine our perception of ourselves and the world. This embrace of uncertainty and the comfort with being incorrect fosters a lifelong learning mindset, preventing stagnation and ensuring perpetual evolution. It's about pursuing truth through constant iteration, acknowledging that absolute certainty is an illusion and that our most profound insights often emerge from admitting our own ignorance. Chapter 7. Failure is the way forward. Building directly and emphatically on the themes of accepting imperfection, embracing uncertainty, and the necessity of being wrong, this chapter asserts that failure is not only an inevitable part of life but an absolutely essential ingredient for growth, learning, and ultimately success. Manson powerfully articulates that many individuals are paralyzed by an intense and pervasive fear of making mistakes, experiencing setbacks, or being judged negatively for their shortcomings. This deep-seated aversion to failure often leads to crippling inaction, prolonged procrastination, stagnation, and the tragic avoidance of countless opportunities for genuine personal and professional development. Society, through its reward systems like grading in schools or immediate results in careers, often conditions us to view failure as a terminal event rather than a learning opportunity. He fundamentally redefines failure not as a personal indictment of one's worth or capability, but as an invaluable feedback mechanism, a crucial source of vital data that precisely guides us more effectively towards our goals. True progress in any endeavor, whether it's learning a new skill, building a business, developing a fulfilling relationship, or achieving a personal aspiration, comes from consistent experimentation, making mistakes, diligently analyzing what didn't work, and applying those hard-won lessons to the next attempt. This chapter introduces the do something principle. Often motivation isn't a prerequisite for action, but rather a result of it. Taking even a small, imperfect action can generate the momentum and learning necessary to continue. It encourages embracing a mindset where failures are simply crucial, informative steps on the path, separating one's inherent self-worth from one's temporary outcomes. It empowers readers to understand that persistent effort, resilience in the face of adversity, and the willingness to learn from every misstep despite setbacks are the true hallmarks of courage, innovation, and lasting advancement. It's about viewing every failure as a lesson, a stepping stone, not a definitive defeat. Chapter 8. The importance of saying no. This chapter powerfully highlights the critical role of setting clear, firm boundaries and mastering the liberating art of saying no. Manson argues that our time, our energy, and our precious F***ks are finite and extremely limited resources, analogous to a budget that, once depleted, cannot be instantly replenished. Consequently, automatically saying yes to every request, every perceived opportunity, or every social obligation, whether driven by a desire to please others, an inherent fear of missing out, FOMO, or simply a lack of clarity on our own values and priorities, inevitably leads to being overextended, spreading our focus too thin, and the dangerous depletion of our most vital mental and emotional resources. This lack of boundaries results in an unfulfilled life, perpetually reacting to external demands rather than proactively shaping one's own path. Saying no, though often uncomfortable, socially awkward, or difficult in the short term, is a profound act of self-respect, self-preservation, and strategic prioritization. It is an indispensable tool for protecting our core values, safeguarding our precious time, and conserving our mental and emotional energy for the few, truly significant things that we genuinely care about and that align directly with our deepest purpose. Manson posits that true intimacy and trust in relationships are built not on constant agreement, but on the willingness of both parties to openly disagree and set boundaries. By consciously and courageously choosing what to not care about, what to refuse, and what to decline, we effectively create essential space and focus in our lives for the deep commitments and actions that truly serve our authentic self and contribute to our genuine well-being. This discipline of refusal is not selfish. It is a powerful act of self-determination, leading to greater integrity and authentic connection. Chapter 9. And then you die. The final chapter confronts one of life's most uncomfortable, yet paradoxically, most profoundly liberating truths: mortality. Manson argues that acknowledging our own finite existence, rather than constantly avoiding, denying, or repressing the uncomfortable inevitability of death, can be the single most powerful catalyst for living a more meaningful, authentic, and intensely intentional life. Humans are unique among animals in their capacity to conceptualize their own death, and this awareness, though often terrifying, provides a crucial framework for evaluating our lives. When we truly internalize the fact that our time on this planet is limited, that our conceptual self will eventually cease, trivial concerns often fade into insignificance, and a crystal-clear clarity emerges about what genuinely matters to us at a fundamental level. This profound awareness of our limited time can powerfully motivate us to ruthlessly prioritize our deepest values, to take necessary risks that align with our purpose, to overcome procrastination and inertia, and to cease wasting our precious FCKS on things that ultimately hold no lasting significance in the grand scheme of things. Manson suggests that our values are truly tested when we face the possibility of losing everything, including our lives. By confronting the ultimate limit of our existence, we are forced to define what truly gives our life meaning and to invest our energy accordingly, rather than simply drifting through life. This chapter serves as a stark reminder and a powerful call to action. Live with a profound sense of urgency, make choices that truly resonate with your authentic self, and construct a life that reflects your deepest values, precisely because our time is the most valuable and finite resource we possess. It's the ultimate filter for deciding what truly deserves your FCKS, compelling you to build a legacy, not just accumulate experiences.